So I've got my PlayStation hooked back up. I'm about to power it on for the first time with an SSD installed. Here we go. Hey, welcome back to GT Canada. Today, we are finally going to install our SSD into our PlayStation 5. So those of you that are new to the channel, you know that we cover tech tips, we cover PlayStation, we cover automotive, and a lot of other great topics. Don't forget to subscribe down to the channel below, and let's get started with this video. With the release of software version 2.0, the PlayStation 5 now officially supports SSDs on the internal storage slot. Up until now, you couldn't install anything. In fact, if you tried to install a drive like this into the PlayStation 5 slot, it would give you a warning of unauthorized hardware, and it would just tell you to turn the system off. It would be a complete system halt until you removed it and started it up. Today, we are going to install this SSD, and we're going to just initialize it and see what it looks like. This is just gonna be a quick video to kind of review that. I'm not gonna do speed tests. I'm not gonna really go over a lot of stuff because I think this video will be long enough once we cover everything that you need to do in preparation for this. Before you start this install, you must update to software version 2.0 or higher. If you are not on 2.0 or higher and you just take your system out and you put this in, it will give you that same error. It will not give you an option to upgrade first. So you must install that update first and then power it down. So I'm gonna take you to my PlayStation 5. We're gonna go plug this in. We're going to do that update, and then we're gonna come back and install this SSD. So the first thing we need to do before you stick the SSD in your PlayStation, you need to go over to settings and make sure that you have the right system version on here. So we're gonna go to system, and we're gonna go to system software, and then you can go to console information, and it will tell you your system software is up to date. I'm gonna go to system software update and settings. Now, I have the update beta option available on my PlayStation. If you are not part of the beta program, you will not have this. So I'm able to make this video because I am on the beta software. So until version 2.00 of the software comes out, you will not be able to do this. But I'm going to update my system to the software, and I'm going to say update. Now it will download. I will say okay. I will agree and confirm. It doesn't take long to do this update, or to at least to download this file. So I'll speed this part of the video up just so that you can see that it's installed, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do after this. So now it's actually installing the update file. Again, this doesn't take too long. Said I have beta software version 2.0. So now I should be able to go to my settings, and I'll go to system, and then I'm gonna go to console information. Here you can see I am on beta 2.0. If you are not on beta 2.0 or official version 2.0, you will not be able to install your SSD on this PlayStation. So now it is prepared to accept our SSD. So I'm going to back out of here. I'm going to press the PS button, go to power, and I'm going to turn off the PlayStation 5. You wanna make sure you turn it off before you power it down. So now you can unplug your PlayStation, so you can undo all of your connections and begin doing the install. Now that the system software has been updated to version 2.0 or higher, if this is later on and there's new versions of the software out, it's time to install the drive. The first thing we need to do is access the drive location. So we need to actually flip the system over like this. If you have a disk version, your disk should be up. After we flipped it over, we want to lift up this back corner right here, while we support the unit, we're gonna just lift this up with my finger and then push like that until it pops. Then we're gonna pull this off. Those of you that are wondering, this is what the inside of it looks like after I've had dogs running around and whatever. It's surprisingly not very dusty, considering I've had this running since November. So since launch, I've had this running and I have not cleaned it out. The part we are interested in is right here. It's underneath this screw. It takes just a regular Phillips head screwdriver, which if you're not sure, that's the star bit. I'm going to just set the screw over here where I won't lose it. And then that allows this cover to be pulled off. Like that, it'll fall on the ground. That exposes the SSD expansion slot. Now you should also have the screw that you need, which you can see right in there. That screw is going to hold our SSD in place. So this is all the prep work that we need to do on this. I now need to prep my SSD. Which SSD do you use in your PlayStation 5? That's an excellent question. I have purchased the Sabrent Rocket 4 Plus. I got the 1 terabyte SSD. Now it's not because I'm cheap, it's because drive prices right now are extremely expensive. If you buy the 2 terabyte, it is almost the same price as a PlayStation 5 all by itself. If you go to a 4 terabyte, it's ridiculous how much that costs. Currently, I'm just barely out of space, so I bought the 1 terabyte because that will give me the space that I need for now, and it allows upgradability for later. So I can always use this in a laptop or a computer or whatever. I don't have to leave it in my PlayStation 5. I believe that there will be more SSDs released, like kind of having the PlayStation 5 in mind. What I mean by that, I'll show you once I open this up. So this is brand new. I haven't even opened this yet. I don't even know what this looks like. But back to the point of which SSD should I get or should you get as a user looking at this video. There are certain specs that the SSD must meet. The speed has to be greater than 5,500 megabits per second. This particular drive is rated at 7,000 megabits per second, so I far exceed that rating. It must also physically fit. There are some size restrictions, and because of that, because there's a lot of variations, I will put links in the description to the different drives that will fit for sure and will work for sure. Some of those drives, and this is one of them, let me get this open. Ooh. You'll see this is the drive. It is very small. There's not a lot to it. I can't just stick this drive in. You'll notice how thin that is. That's because there is no heatsink on this drive. And one of the requirements of a drive in your PlayStation 5 is that it has adequate cooling. And the cooling must be in the form of a passive cooling stack. That's where this comes in. I bought this on Amazon. I will also have a link in the description to different passive cooling devices that you can use on your PlayStation 5. So I believe that this one will work. This is it here. It's a beautiful purple color. So if your drive does not have the cooling fins, you must buy something like this and attach it to it to give it that cooling that it needs. So there's nothing really fancy about this. It's just a block of aluminum. It does come with a thermal transfer pad right here. It is not sticky, it just sticks on it, and then this sandwich is on there just like that. To make sure that I've got one that fits, I'm going to test drop this into the PlayStation 5 just to make sure that it fits. Now, if you've bought this from the link that I put in the description, it will fit. But just to be sure, there we go, you can see that this one will fit in here. Now there's different colors, I just wanted the purple one. The short answer to which SSD should I get? I know I've rambled a little bit and kind of skirted the issue. So there's a certain length that it can't exceed. That won't be a problem for you because these are standard SSD lengths, so don't worry about the length. The width is also a standard SSD width. So if you've got an SSD and it looks like this, it's the right width. The thickness this way is the problem. If it is too tall in here, then what'll happen is that metal cover that you saw fall off earlier will not be able to go on here. We don't want to leave that cover off. Sony has said to not leave it off and that you want to make sure it's on. They have reasons for that. I don't know what those reasons are. I thought there was cooling chambers here, but it doesn't look like there is at all. So I have no idea. My best guess is that it actually might be better to leave it off. I'll do some testing and see what kind of temperatures we run with it on and with it off, because who knows, maybe it'll be better to have that off. So the first thing we need to do is assemble the SSD into the cooling pad. This sticker is actually copper. Because it's copper, there will be some heat transfer through here and it will have some cooling effect to it. If your SSD does not have a copper sticker and it's just a piece of paper, you probably will want to actually remove that sticker so that you can get this thermal transfer pad right onto the ICs to keep it even cooler. In this case, I'm going to leave it intact, and because this comes with so many thermal transfer pads, I got 3 there. Now the orientation, you can see there's a little notch right there and there's a little notch in here. So you want the notches to match up so that they look like that when we're done. If you've got it the wrong way around, then the notch from the SSD will just hit that cover. Also, there is a little bit of an arrow there that says alignment, so it's really hard to screw it up. These pads have a backing sticker on them, so you want to peel that off. It's clear, and that just exposes the silicone. Now they're not stickers, so they are reusable. There, we've got that off. You want to make sure it's flat. Then I can stick my SSD in, aligning the back holes to the SSD. Like that, and then we're gonna stick another one on the top. Now I got 3 with this kit because 1 is a spare. So there you can see I just stuck it right on top of the SSD, just like that. So you wanna make sure that you've covered all of the sticker and all of the chips, because that's what we're trying to keep cool here. I'm gonna peel off that backing paper, and then this goes on. Now there are holes here, and this has an aligning thing, so it can only go on one way. And then those holes, if you can see, they're actually slotted. So if your SSD has taller ICs on it, it will allow for that slack. You do not want to double up your thermal transfer pads. You only need 1, especially on the top. If you put 2 or 3 because you think it's gonna cool better, it won't. What we want is, we want the heat to transfer from the blue silicone pad to this purple aluminum block. That is the important part here. Now this particular kit, if you got the one that I linked in the description, comes with these screws, and I'm gonna just go down on my knees here so that I can see what I'm doing. And it comes with a screwdriver. So really all you wanna do is squeeze together while you're putting these screws in, because I want it to be tight and I want there to be real good thermal transfer. So I'm squishing this together while I screw these screws in. Now this has 6 screw locations, and you want to use all 6. You don't want your chips to get hot spots, so make sure you're applying even pressure. And I'm just starting on one side and working to the other side. So that is my completed Sabrent Rocket SSD with aluminum heat sink to cool this drive. So you can see it's got some deep fins there. They'll have the heat kind of come right off of there. So now it's ready to be put into the PlayStation. So this is exciting. I'm gonna tip it up like this so you can see, but don't tip yours like this. It tends to rock and people tend to get scared. We're gonna take this screw out. The screw is in the default 110 position. Your drive is likely an 80. We're gonna be moving the drive position, and it comes with a little silver shim, which is excellent. And then it just sticks in. This is hard to do vertically, so I'm gonna do it like this, and then I'll show you. Now the screwdriver that came with the heatsink kit will work to install this. So if you don't have a screwdriver, it's actually not a big deal, because this screwdriver works great. Click the link in the description, get the thermal kit that I got, and your problems all go away. So this is the installed SSD. The thing that you're gonna want to notice, and I'm gonna try and show you here. Inside here, there is a very tiny little aluminum shim there. So I have that on the bottom, then I have the SSD, then I have the screw. That keeps it lifted up a little bit to allow for the heat dissipation. And try and hold that at an angle so you can see it. You can see that there? Make sure you don't lose that. It's loose, it's not attached to the screw. We can put this cover back on, like that. We can still use this same screwdriver to tighten the cover down. You can see the cover is now on. Now it's time to install our plastic cover. Now you might be wondering what these are. I did make a different video that explains this. I'll put that down in the description below. But ultimately it's just for quieting this cover from rattling. My cover is a little harder to put on. There we go. So now it's time to go and plug this back in turn it on and go through the initialization process. So I'm going to take this back over there, we'll initialize it and get some games transferred to it. So I've got my PlayStation hooked back up. I'm about to power it on for the first time with an SSD installed. Here we go. I've never turned this on. I don't know what it's going to do with this drive installed. I have updated the system. Let's see what it does. To use your M.2 SSD, you will need to format it. Some people have questions about that. No, you can't use a drive that you've already used for something else and add a partition or anything. This will format everything. So if you have anything that you wanted to keep from that drive, you probably want to save it before you go and do this, because this will wipe everything from your drive. If you want to continue using your PS5 without formatting your SSD, turn it off, take it out, and then start again. I want to format the SSD. Oh, the read speed of your M.2 SSD is as follows. If you experience a problem while playing a game installed in M.2 SSD storage, try installing it in console storage. So the interesting thing here is, I've been saying since the beginning, and you can go watch the videos that I released talking about this, I think that Sony will not create a whitelist of drives that will work and a blacklist of ones that won't. They don't want to keep that updated. So an interesting thing, while it was formatting, it actually performed a low-level speed test. Now my drive is rated at 7,000 megabits per second, and it's reporting that my read speed is actually 6541. So 6,541.33 megabytes per second. Sorry, I've been saying megabits this whole time. It's megabytes per second. That's fast. What I don't know, if I install a drive that is too slow, will it work? I have a feeling, and I've been saying this all along, I have a feeling that if it's too slow, the PlayStation will just say, heck no, you cannot use this drive. Please eject it and start the system over again. Because I met the minimum read speed requirements of 5,500 megabytes per second, so I'm going to continue. Keep that in mind when you're buying SSD. So my drive has been formatted. To change where your games are installed, go to Settings, Storage, Install Location, and to safely remove your SSD, turn off your PlayStation first. Don't remove an SSD with the PlayStation turned on. That's just common sense. Click OK, rebuilding database, and of course, so I am in beta, in the beta software. That's not a surprise because that's what we're at right now. When you're doing this at home, you will probably be on full system version 2.0, so it's not a big deal, but I had to install the beta to be able to do this. So I'm gonna go to the settings, and I want to go to storage, and I just wanna see what my options are for storage. Another thing that I was worried about, and I'm still worried about, the PlayStation 5 now includes different storage options. So I've got console storage, which you can see. According to this, I have 208 gigabytes. I actually had to delete a couple games so that I could update Warzone, so I will reinstall those games. I can also go to the SSD, which lists it as a Sabrent Rocket 4.0 Plus. Excellent, so it knows what it is. And I have 1 terabyte, and I actually have exactly 1 terabyte free. USB extended format, I do not have anything on the extended storage, but now I've got multiple storage locations. So nicely I can go to install location and I can say PS5 games and apps. I'm gonna install it on the M.2. PS4 games, definitely on the M.2. I'd like to move Warzone over to the SSD because it's ridiculous how big the updates are and everything, and that game takes up so much space. So I think if I put just Warzone on the external drive, then that'll leave enough space for everything else on my internal drive. And I'll just kind of review what the speed differences are associated with that. So I'm gonna move games and apps, and I'm going to move it to the M.2. Yes, move. Let's see how fast this goes. Real world speed test of 129.8 gigabytes being transferred. Don't turn off your PlayStation 5. Remember, I can go at almost 7,000 megabytes per second. So just like that, the entire game has been moved to my SSD. So now I have almost 400 gigabytes of space on the internal storage, and I have still 843 on the external. I'm gonna leave the settings to just install to the external for now because I wanna be testing this anyway. So that's all I wanted to do here on the PlayStation today. So I'm gonna go back to the studio and just kind of wrap this all up. So there you have it. It's that easy. It's not too hard. Yes, you do have to do it yourself. Yes, this is harder than if you have an Xbox where you just plug the expansion into the back like an old Nintendo game or something. I like this solution. The reason I like this solution is because it allows you to buy any SSD that meets the specs and put it in here. If in the future SSDs drop in price, you can get whatever you want, a bigger drive, and put it in here. And that is why I bought the 1 terabyte drive, because I think once I've maxed out the 667 gigabytes on the inside already, plus the 1 terabyte I just added, I'm around 1.5 terabytes of usable space. It's gonna take me a little while to actually use that all up. If you know you'll use it all up, spend the dough, get a bigger drive. Which drive do you get right now? Again, I've put a bunch in the description down below. You can grab one of those, or any drive that fits. If it has its own heatsink, make sure that specifications will fit inside that space. If it does not have a heatsink, you can get a drive just like this and put your own heatsink on it, just like you saw me do here, and it will also work just fine. I have a feeling that there will be PlayStation 5 minded drives that come out that are actually the 110 millimeter length. And the reason they would do that is because it would allow you to expand the chips, get a little bit more space between there, so you can have really good cooling on it because you get more surface area and still keep the drive nice and cool, and essentially hopefully make the chips even cheaper because you can use lower grade components because they're not going to get as hot because they're farther apart, so they don't heat each other up. That's my suspicion. I don't know if it's really going to happen, but hopefully it does. I do have some other questions that I have for this, which is specifically with the speed. I don't think Sony is locking this down on any kind of a speed setting. I think you can actually get a slower drive and stick it in here. I've been waiting for this software to release and for my system to update so that I can try a slower drive. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, subscribe down below, because I will be doing that video with the slower drive so that I can see what it does and how it actually works. You might have an opportunity to save yourself a lot of money by getting a different Gen 4 drive that has slower specs for a cheaper price. So watch for that video, which will be coming sooner than later. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out some of our other videos over here. Until next time, have a great day.